Alex Pereira just saved the entire UFC. First round knockout, Ankalaev is done, and I couldn't be happier about being wrong with my prediction. It literally couldn't have gone better on paper. Saves the UFC, saved the light heavyweight division, saves pay-per-view. The worst champion in modern UFC history just got sent back to the prelims where he belongs. What a moment. 60 seconds. That's all it took for Pereira to remind everyone why he's the most dangerous man in combat sports. Immediate reaction in stakes. Bro, I picked Ankalaev to win this fight, and I'm 100% happy that I got that wrong. This is the best possible outcome for the sport. We went from potentially having the most boring, unmarketable champion in light heavyweight history to keeping Alex Pereira on the throne, where he belongs. Can you imagine if Ankalaev won? We'd have this guy who can't sell a pay-per-view, can't cut a promo, just laying on people for 5 rounds. The UFC would have been. Dana White was. Probably sweating bullets before this fight, knowing what was at stake. But Alex Pereira, being the absolute savage that he is, said, "Don't worry, I got this," and delivered in the most spectacular way possible. The 1-minute destruction. Let me break down exactly what happened, because this was a masterclass in violence. From the opening bell, Alex came out with a completely different approach from their first fight. Remember the first fight? Alex was cautious, counter-heavy, playing it safe. Not this time, man, not this time. He opens aggressively with inside low kicks. And I'm talking about those nasty shin-to-shin kicks that make you want to quit fighting altogether. These weren't just regular kicks, these were targeted strikes designed to force Ankalaev out of his favored southpaw stance. And it worked. Ankalaev had to switch to orthodox, and you could see immediately he looked uncomfortable, like a fish out of water. The moment Ankalaev switched stances, boom, Pereira punishes him with that trademark rear leg calf kick. You could see Ankalaev's base was completely destabilized. His legs were compromised, his movement was gone, and Alex smelled blood in the water. The knockout sequence. Then comes the shot that ended it all. Ankalaev throws this lazy jab, and I mean lazy-like. He was just going through the motions, and Pereira times it perfectly with a right overhand. The shot wobbled him instantly. You could see Ankalaev's legs do that little dance, you know. The one where fighters are trying to stay conscious, but their body's already checking out. What happens next shows the difference between a champion and a pretender. Ankalaev panics and shoots a desperate takedown. This is supposed to be the elite wrestler, right? The guy who was going to wrestle Alex? But the moment he's hurt, his wrestling turns to Pereira sprawls perfectly, takes top position, and unleashes pure carnage. 20 unanswered strikes, man. 20. And these weren't just arm punches. Alex was. Dropping those 12 to 6 elbows that they just made legal, mixing in punches. Just absolutely. Brutalizing Ankalaev until the referee had to save his life. TKO in under 60 seconds. The worst possible nightmare for Ankalaev and his boring-ass fans. Psychological warfare. But here's what nobody's talking about. The psychological destruction that happened before. The physical one. In the build-up, Ankalaev was confident, aggressive, talking all this about how he was going to dominate Alex, how he was the uncrowned champion, how the first fight was a fluke. The moment that cage door closed, different story. You could see it in Ankalaev's body. Language from the second they touched gloves. That energy, that confidence, it evaporated, like it was never there. Within seconds, his whole demeanor flipped from predator to prey. Alex's calm, composed presence, that stone-cold killer mentality, triggered visible panic in Ankalaev. This wasn't just a physical loss, this was complete psychological collapse. Ankalaev was broken before Alex even hurt him. That's what separates champions from challengers. Alex has that aura, that presence that makes grown men question themselves. Ankalaev felt it, and he crumbled. The redemption arc. Let's talk about the redemption aspect here because this is huge. After their first fight, Pereira blamed his loss on injury. Everyone, and I mean everyone, dismissed it as excuses. Oh, he's just salty, he lost. Can't accept defeat. All that Ukraine. Well, guess what? This rematch proved he wasn't making excuses. He entered this fight stronger, sharper, and strategically refined. This wasn't just revenge. This was vindication. He proved that the first fight was an anomaly, that when he's healthy and prepared, there's no one at 205 who can touch him. The way he came in with a completely different game plan shows his evolution. He wasn't just relying on his power. He had a strategy, executed it perfectly, and dominated from bell to bell. Well, bell to knockout, which was like 50 seconds. Strategic brilliance. The game plan Alex implemented was brilliant. He borrowed from Jan Blachowicz' blueprint. Remember when Jan beat Ankalaev? Same strategy. Target the legs early, compromise the base, neutralize the wrestling threat before it can even start. Those shin-to-shin inside kicks weren't random. They were calculated strikes designed to cripple Ankalaev's mobility. Once you take away a wrestler's ability to shoot effectively, what do they have left? Especially someone like Ankalaev, who has mediocre striking at best. Alex knew this, his team knew this, and they executed it flawlessly. And can we appreciate the fight IQ here? Alex didn't just come forward swinging wild. Every strike had purpose. The low kicks to destabilize, the calf kick to further compromise. Movement, then the overhand right when Ankalaev was off balance. This was surgical. Precision disguised as violence. Technical evolution. What I love about Pereira is that every fight, he shows us something new. We've seen the left hook that sent Jiri to the shadow realm, the head kick that decapitated Jamahal Hill, the flying knee against whoever, and now the right overhand into devastating ground and pound. But it's not just the striking. Those 12-6 elbows from top position, that's new. That shows. He's been working on his ground game. He's not just a kickboxer anymore. He's a complete, mixed martial artist. The way he sprawled on that takedown attempt, gained position, and finished with ground strikes. That's MMA, not kickboxing. His highlight reel keeps expanding, and every finish is more spectacular than the last. How? Many fighters can say that. Most guys have one or two signature moves. Alex has an entire arsenal of death, the tire shop prophecy. At the weigh-ins, Pereira dropped this line. I'm not going back to the tire shop. Man, that hits different now. This isn't just about winning a fight. This is about a working-class warrior who refused to accept his place in life. Think about it. This guy was changing tires, working blue-collar jobs, grinding just to survive. Now he's one of the biggest stars in combat sports, making millions and saving entire UFC. Events, that's not just a success story, that's a fun movie script. And the way he carries himself, humble, respectful, but absolutely deadly when that cage door closes. Compare that to Ankalaev's arrogance, his bravado, his trash talk. The fans saw this as more than a fight. It was a moral contrast. The humble craftsman versus the loud pretender. And justice was served in the most violent way possible. Ankalaev's fall from grace. Let's be real about Ankalaev for a second. This guy thought he was the uncrowned champion. He complained for years about not getting his title shot, acted like the UFC was, holding him back, like there was some conspiracy against him. Then he gets his chance at redemption against the guy he beat before, and what happens? Complete and utter destruction. This wasn't competitive. This wasn't close. This was a mauling. And now what? Back to the prelims, bro. Back to fighting unranked guys on the early card where nobody's watching. His fans online are crying about early stoppage. Get the footwash out of here. Your boy was eating 20 unanswered strikes. He was done. The referee saved him from permanent brain damage. Those stupid Dagestani fans need to accept that their boring wrestler got exposed by a real champion. Legacy implications. This fight changes everything for both men's legacies. For Pereira, he's now cleared out the division, beat Jiri twice, destroyed Jamahal Hill, knocked out John, and demolished Ankalaev. In the rematch, who's left? Nobody at 205 can touch him. We're potentially looking at him moving up to heavyweight next. if Tom Aspinall beats Cyril. Gain at UFC 321, we might get Pereira versus Aspinall for a third belt. Imagine that, the first three-division champion in UFC history, from the tire shop to making history. For Ankalaev, his career is essentially over as a top contender. You don't come back from this kind of loss, not just losing, but being completely dominated and finished in under a minute in your rematch for the title. He'll be remembered as the worst champion in modern UFC history, and he only held the belt for a few weeks before losing it. Why this matters for the sport? This result saved the UFC from its darkest timeline. Can you imagine Ankalaev as a champion? Pay-per-views would tank. Nobody wants to watch a guy lay and pray for 5 rounds. The light heavyweight division would become unwatchable. But instead, we keep Alex Pereira, a human highlight reel who delivers spectacular finishes every single time. This is a guy who sells pay-per-views, who brings casual fans to the sport, who creates moments that go viral. That's what the UFC needs. That's what we need as fans. The UFC is a business, and Alex Pereira is good for business. Ankalaev was going to kill the division. Thank God, or thank Alex, that we don't have to live in that reality. The perfect ending. In 60 seconds, Alex Pereira didn't just win a fight, he rewrote a rivalry, silenced critics, and reminded the world what greatness looks like when preparation meets conviction. This wasn't just a knockout, it was a statement. Every aspect of this fight was perfect. The strategy was flawless, the execution was perfect, the finish was spectacular. Even the timing, under a minute, was perfect. You couldn't script it better if you tried. Whether or not he pursues that third belt, this fight solidified Pereira's place among MMA's most dangerous and disciplined champions. He's not just a fighter, he's an artist, and violence is his canvas. Final thoughts. Man, I'm still riding this high from watching that knockout. Fights like this remind you why we love this sport. It's not just about winning and losing, it's about moments. And this was a moment that we'll be talking about for years. Alex Pereira saved the UFC. He saved the light heavyweight division. He saved us from having to watch Ankalaev bore us to death for the next 2 years. And he did it in the most spectacular fashion possible. I picked wrong, and I've never been happier to be wrong in my life. This is why Alex Pereira is a must-watch TV. This is why he's one of the greatest champions we've ever seen. And this is why Magomed Ankalaev is heading back to the prelims where he belongs. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that subscribe button because I keep it real, I tell you exactly what I think. And I'm not afraid to call out these boring fighters who need to get cut. Alex Pereira is still your champion, Ankalaev is done, and all is right in the MMA world. The human highlight reel continues. The boring wrestler is vanquished, and we can all sleep. Better knowing we don't have to watch Ankalaev fight for a title ever again. Peace out.